The root cause of his issue is his deep-seated inferiority complex. It often manifests in how he openly flirts with other men or talks about them in front of Ju-won. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll be discussing Love or Hate by Youngha. And this review is thanks in part to those of you who took part in my poll. This was the second choice in the poll, Love Triangle, Stepbro versus Artist. Really, it should be Photographer, I kinda messed up there. And if you'd like to check out the winner, you can watch it by clicking the annotation or the link in the description. If you'd like to help decide what gets reviewed next, go ahead and subscribe, get your BL Library card for the BL Library, and be on the lookout for my community posts with the polls. If you want more power in the polls, and some other fun benefits, check out my Patreon. I've got some fun read with me and play with me live streams happening over there. I'm currently playing Cloud Meadow, which is an 18 plus game. Oh my god, did you see that CG? See, I've always played women, so I've never got to see that. Wow! The cum dripping out on the table, that was excellent. Plus some Patreon-only giveaways. You can find that in the description below. Before we get started, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled in this manhwa, go ahead and click off now. No worries, I'll catch you next time. For those of you who decide to stick around, let's go over some content warnings. And get ready, this is a long list. There may be references to pseudo-incest, specifically a sexual relationship with stepbrothers, breakups, excessive drinking, mentions of dieting, mentions of Shotokan, no actual Shotokan takes place, prejudice, non-consenting porn, gossiping, invasion of privacy, violence, manipulation, mentions of divorce, strained familial relationships, threatening suicide, child abuse, homomesia, self-hatred, self-deprecation, mentions of insomnia, underage smoking, blood, blackmail, comments on body and weight loss, mentions of cheating, which are dubious due to the nature of the relationships, stalking, bullying, child labor, specifically child acting, mentions of death, child abandonment, ableism, including use of the R slur, car accidents, mentions of drugs, and drug use, as these things do appear in the manhwa. But if that's okay with you, let's go and get started. Haisu is in a rut. He used to be highly praised as a young writer, considered a prodigy, and expected to do amazing things even at a young age. But after some good progress with writing smutty stories in a column, his work has become stale, and his column is gone. Frustrated but unsure what to do, Haisu works freelance for a gossip magazine. His professional life seems to mimic his personal one too. He's also in a relationship rut, with none other than famous actor Choi Ju-won. But to Haisu, Ju-won isn't an actor. He's his stepbrother and casual sex partner. The two have gone from mortal enemies in their teens to each other's firsts, only to become whatever this cold and casual situationship is as adults. Haisu loves Ju-won, but he hates him too. He hates that Ju-won is more successful than he is, that Ju-won still has this hold on him, and that he won't ever love him. Haisu jumps from relationship to relationship, but in the end he runs back to Ju-won, or Ju-won runs back to him. It's a never-ending cycle of pleasure and pain that Haisu can't see a way out of. That is until he's tasked with interviewing mysterious and provocative photographer K. K, whose real name is Song Taekyung, is strange. He stares at Haisu as if he's looking at something Haisu wants to keep hidden, but there's a strange magnetism between the two of them that Haisu can't seem to shake. Is the photographer Haisu's chance to break out of this rut, both professionally and personally, or will his obsession with Ju-won hold him back? To start with, I read this forever ago. I'd say this is actually one of the first 4 or 5 BL manhwa I had ever read when I was just starting, and I'm so excited I finally get to review it. The art in this one set the bar high for what I expected when it came to manhwa art, so you can thank this title for much of my pickiness today. I always reread titles as I review them, so I was excited to see how this holds up. Having read so much since reading this one, I didn't realize then how inconsistent it is. Like with all work, the longer it goes on, the better it gets, but either way, I like the art in this. It reminds me a ton of Banana Scandal, which is one of my favorite titles of all time. It's in the eyes, I think. If you like the art in Banana Scandal, this is a much cleaner version. And though it isn't the most consistent, it has some of the prettiest panels I've ever seen. I think it's worth reading this for those panels alone. This story is all about self-sabotage, guilt, and desperation. Haisu loves Ju-won, but due to his insecurities and guilt toward his mother, he refuses to allow himself to love Ju-won. He satisfies his need for love and affection with Taekyung, who offers himself to be used. Unlike his mother, who consistently scolds him for being with Ju-won, and Ju-won, who has said before that he won't fall for him, Taekyung is readily available for Haisu. Haisu has permission to be with Taekyung even if he doesn't return Taekyung's feelings. He gets in the way of his own happiness because he doesn't feel like he deserves love. But that's only the symptom. The root cause of his issue is his deep-seated inferiority complex. It often manifests in how he openly flirts with other men or talks about them in front of Ju-won. But we get insight into his thoughts where he frequently laments over his inability to create good work. This again is why he falls into a situationship with Taekyung. Haisu sees Taekyung's work as low-value porn, yet Taekyung is regaled as a talented artist. Haisu is older than Taekyung and was also praised for his work when he debuted. He relives a lot of his glory days through Taekyung, so not only does he have the freedom to have sex and enjoy Taekyung as a partner, but he can, hopefully, reclaim his artistic talents. He doesn't truly love Taekyung. He wants all that Taekyung can give him while he silently suffers and pines after Ju-won. This sets us up for a cruel, selfish love triangle, with Haisu at the center. Haisu has always been in transactional relationships. He and Ju-won, from his understanding, have had sex because they simply needed to let off steam or so they wouldn't be lonely. So when Taekyung appears, he assumes he can do the same with him, but ultimately his relationship with Taekyung reveals how he doesn't see his relationship with Ju-won as transactional, or at least he doesn't want to. While he likes having sex with Taekyung, it's not the same emotional pleasure he receives from Ju-won. Taekyung is honest, tells Haisu he loves him, and gives him the emotional support and time Ju-won never could. These are all things Haisu wants and accepts from Taekyung, but Taekyung can't provide him with everything because Haisu only wants Ju-won. Taekyung is in a race that started long ago without him and has no hope of winning. It's a miserable version of a love triangle where one person is used to develop another. It's extremely toxic, so if you're hoping for a balanced love triangle, you're in the wrong place. I recall despising that Haisu didn't pick Taekyung in the end when I first read it, but going over it a second time, I think the way it plays out makes sense, but that doesn't make it hurt any less. With all that being said, this is the epitome of love triangles. It's painful and frustrating in so many ways, and I recall really wanting Haisu to end up with Taekyung, and it royally pissed me off when he didn't. But having read it for a second time, I've come to terms with this ending. This was how it was meant to be. Many people will love this result, and many people will hate it. Much like the title, love it or hate it, you will feel something. And like in a love triangle, someone will get hurt. I think this is a very powerful title, but if cruel and painful love triangles aren't your thing, this certainly isn't going to change your mind about that. So, have you read Love or Hate? If so, what do you think? Do you agree with my assessment? Do you not? Let me know in the comment below. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye!